Alright, pilot, it's time to show us what you got. Oh, you're a noob? Great. Just great. Well, the Empire will take anybody they can get. Hop aboard your TIE and get to learning the ropes. I've compiled a quick and easy guide to mastering your starfighter and flying your way to the top of the ranking system. Those rebel scum won't know what hit them. Galactic Ace, here you come. Okay, so you've played a few games of Star Wars Squadrons and you love it. You're blasting your enemies in dogfights, working your way through the story mode, and now you're ready for the big league, fleet battles. You want to get a high rank and earn that cool cosmetic. The problem is, you aren't very good. Trust me, you're not alone. Star Wars Squadrons is a very hard game with a great deal of subtlety that takes a lot of time to understand and a lot more time to master. Whether you're a noob or you're a premier pilot, these tips will get you to the next level. If you're looking to become the next Galactic Ace, you've come to the right place. Tip 1. Learn how to play every starship. This may sound obvious, but too often I see my teammates locking in the same ship all game, complaining that they don't know how to play any others. If you want to be a successful pilot and a godsend to your team, learn how to play every starship. Not only will this help if you have stubborn teammates who don't want to go support, but it will also give you flexibility if the current setup of your squadron isn't working. Sometimes you just need another bomber to score extra damage on the approaching raider, or maybe you need to try the interceptor because your team's bombers keep getting swarmed by the enemy starships. Whatever the case may be, it isn't too difficult to learn at least the basics of each starship to ensure that your team always has an upper hand in any situation. This game relies on teamwork and composition, so make sure you have both. If you're looking for the quickest way to ride the ranks all the way to Galactic Ace, knowing how to play every starship is key. Fleet battles are incredibly dynamic. Things change rapidly and you need to be able to adapt. The first few minutes of each battle usually requires interceptors and fighters, but that doesn't mean bombers won't be necessary soon enough. Oh, and if you think support ships are useless, think again. All of the ships in Star Wars Squadrons are important, so make sure you can at least play each one if need be. Quick tip, the story mode is great, and it shows you the ropes of each ship, giving you great tricks to keep up with even the best pilots. Tip 2. Master 2. Okay, so now you're a good, well-rounded pilot. This doesn't mean you should be switching your starship types willy-nilly every time you're blown to smithereens. It's important to know how to play every ship, but you shouldn't be spending all your time cycling through them. Star Wars Squadrons is highly competitive, and being good and being the best will separate you from the Galactic Aces. If you want to increase your win rate, you need to master 2 ships. For me, that's the bomber and the interceptor. I make sure to switch between them whenever my team is lacking, or the situation calls for it. This allows me to have a balanced approach to the game without lacking essential skills for those fighters. I don't have time to master each fighter, but if I have at least 2 in my tool belt, I know I can outmaneuver any situation the game throws at me. Being good at each ship is certainly important, but you need to be a master of a ship to truly outrank the other noobs. Make sure you spend adequate time trying different loadouts and finding the perfect fit for your playstyle. You'll be surprised how being amazing at a certain ship gives you an advantage no matter what fleet battles throw at you. Tip 3. Resupply often. A lot can happen in 17 seconds. This means that every time you die, your entire team is thrown into severe disadvantage. Don't be selfish and don't go thinking your ship is indestructible. Sure, the Battle of Endor was won by Arvel Krinid's suicide run on the Executor, but this isn't a high-budget film. Star Wars Squadrons is a competitive game, and every time you get blown up thinking you're a hotshot, you give the enemy team ample time to take down your capital ships, or for their morale to increase enough that they return to the offensive. It isn't worth it. Instead, you need to resupply. During the early stages of the game, this is very easy. You can resupply at either of your 2 frigates during attack runs, and later in the game you can do this by flying back into your capital ship. It may take a few seconds to load back up and return to full hull capacity, but it's way better than having to wait for your respawn timer and fly all the way back to the other side of the map. Also, resupplying is crucial if you want to be an effective bomber. Of course, their blasters are highly powerful, but having to divert the kind of power necessary to make them effective makes you extremely vulnerable. A better tactic is to hit and run. Fly very fast or put all power to your shields and bomb away those important objectives. When you've emptied out your missiles or dropped all of your payload, head on back to your frigates and restock. This is imperative, especially if you are using the proton bombs for Y-Wing or TIE Bomber. Those suckers pack a lot of punch, but you don't have many. Don't just sacrifice your life. Empty your clip and return for a resupply. It may not be the most fun, but it surely gets the job done. Tip 4. Target the best players. I have watched many gameplay videos and read all the tips and tricks from the best players, but I have yet to hear anyone mention this tip. Especially when playing in lower ranks, you're going to get people who are just way better than everyone else. How can you tell? Well, they'll most likely be the ones who keep tracking you down and blowing you to bits, and you can see their scores miles above everyone else's. Why is this important? Well, the more time those excellent players are out on the battlefield, the more damage they are doing to not only your capital ships, but to you. Leaving them alone is not the right decision, especially if you're trying to get a successful bombing run on the enemy, and this hotshot won't leave you alone. The answer? Target the heck out of them. Make a note of their name on the scoreboard and always be cycling through your targets until their name pops up. If you have a good team with excellent communication, then this can be a piece of cake. Ping them as a target and get your allies to join in on the fight. It's much easier to defeat any player, even a better one, if you have multiple starships on the same target. It makes it very hard for the enemy to outmaneuver you. And he can't avoid all your bombs, right? Following this tip makes the battlefield a lot easier to control. Tip 5. Keep watch for hit and runs. It's a bad habit of mine to want to secure a kill. Not only does it throw my opponent out of the match for 17 seconds, leaving the rest of the battlefield a little less full of danger, but it also gives me sweet, sweet satisfaction. Unfortunately, this isn't the best tactic in fleet battles. Sure, dogfighting is great, but in ranked, your kill count doesn't matter. What does matter is protecting your capital ships from decimation. I don't mean you have to constantly stick by your capital ships, but they should be your top priority. This means don't go blasting off to the other end of the map just to take down your target. Not only will this make you vulnerable, but it might also be what your opponent wants. Keeping one more starfighter out of the battle can give bombers enough time to blow another load on your capital ships. This might be the difference between victory and defeat. Most starfighters have loadout options that are specifically for hit and run tactics. They look to send heavy artillery at their target and then blast away. If you can get them before they head out into the abyss, fine, but don't risk your tail to secure that kill. It may be way more valuable for your team as a whole, and for those capital ships if you stick around. And if you really, really want to blow them out of the sky, just wait for them to return for another hit and run and double team them with one of your allies. They'll be predictable anyway, so use it to your advantage. Tip 6. Don't be afraid to abandon the match. This doesn't sound like much of a tip, but it's probably the most valuable thing I could teach you today. Of course, I play this game for the fun of it, but finishing ranked matches that won't affect your MMR are actually kind of pointless. If you need the practice, I don't suggest wasting a possible 30 minutes. I don't mean just abandoning matches willy-nilly, but if you played ranked at all, you know that levers are a big problem for the game right now. Most of the time it happens before the match even starts, and although staying and helping your teammates may seem like the right thing to do, it will never get you to the higher ranks. If you want the most bang for your buck, especially if you don't have hours a day to play, then you really need to leave those matches. It won't affect your MMR to leave, and if you stay, it won't affect it either. That win or loss will mean nothing, and all that hard work goes down the drain. I'd much rather you practice in the story mode or fleet battles versus AI. Don't go wasting time, energy, and patience for a game that won't even matter in the end. Alright pilot, you may not be a pro just yet, but using these tips will get you a lot closer to it. Keep your head up, artillery stocked, and those rebels will be rubble in no time.